the heartthrob, the focus of hope, the centrality of family, the radiance of joy. That is the core of our being. That is the power of a grandmother. A grandmother stands in the center of each family to hold the family together and build it up. My maternal grandmother, Grace, was an extraordinary woman. It was a vision of a godly woman that made this family possible. Now, you would believe that she had a very good life to do all that. But the truth is, tragedy upon tragedy struck upon her. In her life, she was a widow at the age of 30. And her husband, who was the assistant manager at Beanie Mills and about to step into the next higher post as the manager of Beanie Mills, suddenly was called to glory at the age of 40. So my grandmother was a beautiful young widow with my mother, little Clara, 9-year-old, and her elder brother, 12-year-old Arthur Harry. So that was the time. She understood very deeply who Jesus is. And she battled it courageously, a victorious widow. For her beauty, she could have married again, but she was always dressed in black, always kneeling in prayer, especially before Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus. She understood what motherhood means, to face life alone. She remembered the scene at the cross where Mother Mary stood as a widow looking up to her only son. And she received Mother Mary there to comfort her. She began a secret devotion to Our Lady of Perpetual Help. If problems persist and continue unceasingly, there is our beloved Mother who is always praying for us, Mother Mary. And so this was a truth she held on to, and that's what defined our lives. So that's the reason she named my brother Michael, believing him to be Saint Michael the Archangel. She was determined for him to succeed as a child of God in the ministry of God. And my brother's love for her was immense. The last 13 years of her life, she lived with us. What a glorious time that was. Because she was busy educating her elder son, and he became the senior scientist in CFTRI in Australia. And so my grandmothers went there, lived in Australia with him to encourage him and his family. So my grandmother, we received through another major tragic incident in the family. My grandmother's birthday, 60th birthday, was celebrated by her son. But the very next year, before her next birthday, my grandmother's next birthday, she saw the sudden passing away of her beloved son. great was the sorrow, but God turned it all for good. For again, she stood at the cross and received the words of comfort from God, who told her that her son was his son and he had called him home. She received comfort within 3 days, and she was eligible for pension, overseas pension also. So she could come and go visit us. But after 5 years, she came to live with us. And that was the best time of all years she spent with us. And we are so blessed as children. My brother was keen on getting a dog, and my grandmother sponsored that. So we had a Labrador at home. That brought more joy and love in the family. And there was always fun time together. Grandmothers are special. We should not neglect them. We should not take them for granted. Because our parents are busy taking care of us. They have no time for us, the children. But grandmothers who dote on their grandchildren, give them 100% and more attention. And that was my brother and I, enjoying grandmother's love in the family. And if we were to talk about her life, her entrepreneurship, her empowerment of women, all her activities, we would run out of time. She was such a powerful woman, because no tragedy could overtake her zeal to live for God, and especially take care of her only son's family, only daughter's family. And so when I think of my grandmother, I'm also reminded of the grandmother of Jesus, because it's the same name, Anne and Joachim, the parents of Mother Mary, also experienced something wonderful, very wonderful. And of course, it's an awesome fact in history that Grandmother Anne, the grandmother of Jesus, who was elderly at the time of the conception of her little daughter, Mother Mary, experienced a powerful moment when she could feel God's light touching the baby at the conception, to such an extent the sting of sin was taken away. As a pre-redemptive act, there was immaculate conception of Mother Mary in the womb of Anne. In history, it is recorded because Mother Mary, had to be a perfect vessel for God Himself, God's Son, to be born in this world. So this experience of holiness and godliness, we can, to a certain extent, to a great extent, understand in our lives through the life and ministry of my grandmother Grace. Most loving and wonderful, most empowered. And I would like to say also that I was there at the time of her death, and she was just 73 years old, and she was so calm. The life was ebbing out, but she was very calm, and her only thought was for her daughter. She said, "Jean, take care of your mom." And that, I think, shows how every second she was thinking of us, thinking, praying, and there was a perpetual power of her prayers that sustained us. Nothing, it was not material in any terms, in any sense, material wealth, but it was the immense spiritual backing, power, and the presence of God she brought into our lives through her perpetual prayers. And today, if I am what I am and my family is what it is, including my dad, mom, or my brother and his family, it's all because of my grandmother. I can say to the whole world that my grandmother Grace is the pillar of support, the spiritual power, storehouse of power for our family, and her life is a legacy of great wealth that proved God's word is true. So there are many more things I'd like to say about my grandmother, but I just want to say thank you, grandmother, because you're there praying for this work, the special work God has called me to. And I feel her presence every single day, every single moment. Her beauty, her curly hairs, her loving prayers. I just can feel it, and I can say this work we started for God was because of her. And she knew the truth, and she wanted me to come very, very close to the truth. And she shared me the secret of her success, the secret of Our Lady of Perpetual Help. She explained to me how she received Mother Mary at the cross, and she gave me all that details. And I'd love to say something about my brother. When my brother was married, he never saw his bride. Strange to say, but being a man, bridegroom, to be married, he never saw his bride till the day she came to be, in fact, married to him. That's it. And the day he saw her for the first time, he took her to the grave of grandmother Grace. And she must have felt very strange, but she is a sweet lady, and she understood my brother. And my brother prayed at taking his bride for the first time there at grandmother's grave. Next to her is Grandpa Harry's grave also. And so what I would say is, our lives centered around grandmother, and still centered around her, and she is there guiding us to greater, deeper truths. And so what I would like to say to everybody is, don't neglect your grandmothers. They are a blessing to the family. They are the reason you are alive. Your parents are doing well, and your mother is your mother because of your grandmother. So with this, I think I will wind up my response to the question as to what kind of family I was born in and what my family was all about. It's a beautiful family, and the secret is because of the godly woman, Grandmother Grace. Thank you.